Welcome to Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews, the only show that's going to teach you
how to be somebody.
Where in your life did you learn that you're not good enough?
Take what you're most passionate about and what you're most fearful of, and what is the plan to overcome that fear, and what is the plan to enact that passion.
All right, everybody, welcome to Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews. I am your host, AJ Armstrong. You can follow me on Instagram at AaronArmstrong33. That's AaronArmstrong33, or you can always go to my website, AaronJArmstrong.com. Wow, guys, it has been a fantastic September. Month of September has been huge. So much activity going around with the personal growth ventures. You guys know about our retreat, Personal Growth Ventures in the island of St. Lucia. We also I got clients signed up. We got speaking gigs. Every weekend here is booked. Just got back from a football game this weekend. It was so much fun. Really spending some time trying to get out there, traveling, seeing people, reconnecting with old friends. That's always the way to do it. A really good mentor of mine once told me that, you know, we always talk about trying to network and go out and meet people and all this stuff, but sometimes your network's already in your network. You know, sometimes the most valuable people out there are already in your circle, inner circle of trust, and it's just about reconnecting with them. So I challenge you guys today, go out there, look at your LinkedIn, look at your Instagram, look at your contacts in your phone, and just reconnect with some old people. You know, it's just really simple. Just go scroll back through your phone contacts, reach out to them. Hey, how's everything been? A tip I got, and I still do to this day, is, you know, some of those mentors and people in your life, every 6 months, put them on an automated calendar, and just every 6 months follow up with people. Hey, how's it going? What's new? What's been happening? How's life? Just change up, because someday you're going to want to reconnect with those people. You're going to ask for something, a letter of recommendation for a job, or it might be a business deal you want to go in on with somebody, or you might need funding, capital, or you might want to get them, to come on an adventure with you or something like that. And it's just about having them, when it's consistent, you reach out to them every 6 months or so, you're always fresh in their minds. They're not going to be like, who's this guy I totally forgot about? Because you'd be surprised at how fast that goes. So with that said, folks, that's just a little morning tip here today. And then I just wanted to give you guys some tips today on personal branding. Okay. You guys know that when I look at my emails and people reach out and they write in subjects they want us to talk about, and they want us to review, this one seemed to be almost unanimously the highest requested, was just, how do you develop this personal brand? Is it right for me? Is it right for everybody? These are all awesome questions. So today I want to talk about all of those different things. So for those of you that don't know what a personal brand is, or what a brand is in general, this is actually a fun fact. So what branding came from was the action of actually branding your cattle. So that was, you would burn a symbol on your cattle, your livestock, back in the day, so that they would know whose farm it belonged to. So you could actually mark your assets, and over time that symbol became known as your brand, that evolved into your business's brand, etc. So that's kind of how that all came about. And what your brand is it's basically this big foundation that encompasses all of the activities within your business when it's a theme. So it's a psychological prompt when you interact with your business. How do people think of it? Is it going to be a masculine or a feminine style? Is it going to have different colors that trigger different emotions? So, you know, dark colors might have a more masculine approach. Light colors might have a more feminine approach. Colors like red might symbolize power, and colors like blue might symbolize trust. So it kind of just depends on what your business is going for. And you want to start to build that psychology into people. Now, that doesn't mean that if it's blue, it means, you guys know that. It's just kind of, you want to think about what are people's interactions with your business. So when it comes to a personal brand, it's the same thing, but it's about yourself. So it's about, how do you look at building a brand around your personality, your personal image, your personal story, and think about treating it as if it's a business. And that's really what personal branding is all about. It's about, how do you start to make yourself the asset? Because if you guys don't believe in this, I'm going to give you a compelling argument of why. I think this is the, if not the most advantageous thing you could possibly invest into, because it's an asset. It's an intangible asset, your personal brand. And here's why. You can put money into real estate, great asset that I love investing in, and it can go down in value. You can put money into a stock, it can go down in value. Both of those can actually go down to $0 and be worth absolutely nothing. You can go completely bankrupt with assets worth nothing in your life. But what the thing is with a personal brand is, if you do go bankrupt, there's still a valuable thing behind you, yourself, your image, your personality, your brand. Your brand is an intangible asset. And with a personal brand, I'll give you an example really quick. So Johnny Depp, famous actor, Pirates of the Caribbean, Captain Jack Sparrow. He actually went bankrupt not too long ago. And everyone's like, how do you get whatever, $200 million into debt to where it becomes an issue? And most people, like, the news story flashes, whatever, Johnny Depp's bankrupt, blah, blah, blah. Same with 50 Cent. 50 Cent, bankrupt, blah, blah, blah. And they just immediately bounce back from it. Why? Because every single person at the front of their conscience knows who Johnny Depp is. Every single person in a household name knows who 50 Cent is. 50. They all know these people. It's a tip of their consciousness, right? Having that power of consciousness and brand awareness to yourself, to your image, what they can do then is they can go in a movie and people are going to watch that movie because they got their name in it. Or they can start a business and it's because their name is behind it. People have already built up some type of relationship with that name. And a relationship is just some kind of reciprocity. There's just something going on. They're giving me some kind of value or some kind of not value, and I'm giving them some kind of value or not value, right? So 50 Cent decides to publish an album, Get Rich or Die Trying, the motto of my life. He puts that out, and all of a sudden, I buy it. There's a relationship there. I now know who 50 Cent is. He, on a micro scale, sees the $7 that came into his bank account, and he sees that. And that's really how you start to build that relationship. But everybody in the world knows who these people are. So they can, like Donald Trump goes bankrupt, right? He can come right back from it because he's got this name. Everybody has this name. Oprah, she has this name. She could lose all of her money in the world, but somebody will do a deal with her because they have a name. They have a personal brand. It's the asset that will only lose if you lose your values. That's it. The only way that asset goes down is if your values go down. If something ethical comes up with you, if something just violates, your true core values, that's the only way that personal brand's going down. So when people try to take down these personal brands, they try to attack people at their values. And that's when your reputation starts getting destroyed. And your reputation is just a result of your values. That's all it is. Or it's some people's perception of a result of your values. So personal branding can be extremely powerful for that reason. It is an intangible asset. You will not see this on the balance sheet. There will be no balance sheet that says personal brand, AJ Armstrong, worth $25 million, whatever. No, it won't say that. They'll never say that. But that's something that's worth investing into because it's always going to be with you. If you can keep the attention of people, if you can keep the eyes on you, if you can keep the attention, therefore you're going to start to be able to have a platform to serve more people, therefore monetizing that. That's what that looks like. So having a personal brand is extremely, extremely valuable. So many business owners, I was getting so frustrated because there's so many business owners that have incredible, remarkable stories that they can tell, they can share their experiences, they can share how they fit into it, all this stuff, right? One of my mentors, I've been trying to convince for weeks, the last couple of weeks, just like, how do you start your personal brand? How do we get this going? I just can't have my face out there. I can't. He's got to work through some of those fears, but it's just like, these are the things that can totally transform a business. And I'm doing a presentation at the Chamber of Commerce on this exact thing because I think it's so important. I feel so strongly about it. So having a loyal following with individuals, having that lasting relationship is what's going to totally transform the business side of you. And if you don't have a business, you can start just building with your personal brand. You might work in a corporate sector. You might not have a job. You might not have a business. You might have a business, whatever. I think a personal brand always applies to you. Always applies to you. Because let's say you wanted to go start a brewery or something and you wanted to go name it, your area code brewery, because that's what people do now. Pick your area code wherever you're at, and then you can name your brewery. All of a sudden the brewery goes under and nobody really understood what was going on or whatever, and it's like your name was just kind of neutral. It was left out of sight, out of mind or whatever. But if you were to have your name tied into that, you could launch, brewery goes down, you could go launch a software company, and now you're known as some kind of entrepreneur. You might be known as an investor instead of just brewery guy. You're known as whatever. So it's like you want to start to look at how can you build a foundation that allows you to launch multiple ideas from, that you can look long term and it doesn't really phase it. Large companies, guys, if you're even working in a corporate environment, large companies are looking at this. People, Amazon, say, hey, what's the link to your website? What is your podcast? There's companies out in Silicon Valley that are even asking that kind of stuff. They want to know, what is your personal brand? What do you stand for? What are your values? What do you like? What do you talk about? Because the more information and data they can get on you, the better decisions they can start to make, and they can start that relationship with you before it even starts organically. I think that's really the power of this personal brand. So if I don't have you convinced on starting a personal brand yet, I will have you convinced by the end of this when you start to see all the benefits due to it, right? So creating a personal brand is extremely powerful, and I wanted to re-emphasize the importance of doing that in your business life. Okay, so now that you're on board, now that I've got everybody's attention about how we can do this, because it's an intangible asset that's going to continue to reap benefits for life, and assets create wealth. That's how we do this. We build assets, we minimize liabilities. That's what equity equals, folks. That's it. Assets equal liabilities plus equity. That's all you got to do. Minimize equity, maximize assets, and now we're in. So assuming that the personal brand is an asset, how do we maximize this thing? How do we blow this out of the water? Well, it takes some time. Okay, so for those of you guys that know, I didn't wake up to this personal branding thing until 2017, somewhere in there, end of 2016, beginning of 2017. So not that long ago. And I've been chipping away at it for some time. And only 2 years or so, I've already been able to build a pretty large following, right? So I have over 100,000 people on multiple different social networks that follow me, 20,000 people on this podcast. We have YouTube that I'm just starting to do work with. It has like nobody. Twitter that has like nobody. But then we have Facebook that has everybody. And we have Instagram that has everybody. And LinkedIn has everybody. So it's just like being able to kind of cross communicate these social platforms gives you a platform to really communicate your message on. So you guys want to change the world. Well, what is the world? A lot of damn people. So like, let's start with getting some people underneath your platforms. So you have somewhere to talk to. And that's really what it's all about. And so it doesn't happen overnight. It takes some time to chip away at. And that's, I guess, what I'm getting at here. You got to kind of work at it a bit. This podcast, when it first started out, was not, didn't just take off overnight. Like we weren't on New and Noteworthy or any of that stuff. But over time, you just start to really build up that brand, and people share it with their coworkers and their friends, and they hear a message that really speaks to their soul. And then all of a sudden they share it, and it just organically starts to grow. And that's really been like my thing, I guess. It's like this podcast really has started to connect with people. So you can really, wherever you're at in your journey, you can start to figure out what does this personal brand story look like. So what I want you to do is I want you to get really focused on how do we build upon your strengths. Can everybody have a personal brand? Absolutely. Should everybody have a personal brand? Absolutely. Why not? If you don't think you're in it for a personal brand, like why would you not? The only reason I can think of not having a personal brand is if you don't want to maximize your equity in your life. You don't want to maximize that. You don't want to invest into this type of asset. You might have some other method of getting everything you want out of your life, and that's fine. Okay, so maybe that wouldn't be for you. But this is something that I think is like super low-hanging fruit to like try to do. And here's why. Investing in your personal brand right now is the cheapest real estate you can get in the world. It's the cheapest real estate you can get in the world. You can get tons of followers for free, organically, on multiple social media sites, almost a dozen of them that will organically give you followers and build connections and start to help people and influence them. This is the cheapest, I believe, in time it's ever going to be. In the future, this will catch up, and the demand for influence and platforms will catch up, and it will start to cost money. And you're already starting to see that a little bit with people trying to pay for likes, people running. I mean, most influencers, like I've joined masterminds and bought packages from coaches and all this stuff. They're spending like tens of thousands of dollars every month running Facebook ads. That's what they do. Like that's built into their budget. That's built in their thing. They're like, you just got to keep buying that because it's on sale right now. It's just on sale. And you guys know me. I just hate that kind of crap. It's hard for me to stomach. I guess that's the way it goes. But I want it to be a little bit more organic, and I like to think that way. But every once in a while, yeah, you got to run an ad. You got to do your thing. I'm not spending, six figures or even tens of thousands of dollars on Facebook ads. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think if you've got a story to tell, people will find it. They will find you. And that's what I believe in. And that's what I hope continues to happen. But, these businesses got to make money. Facebook, Google, they got to make their money. They got to create some kind of way to capture the dollar and use this real estate that they have to sell. So right now, I think is one of the cheapest points in time it's ever going to be to get this type of influence. So it's like, this is the time to invest in. You're buying this on sale right now. This is like when we went into Western expansion and you could just start buying up stuff in the middle of freaking nowhere for like pennies on the dollar. That's what this is. It's the cheapest time you can start to buy this stuff. And as the future unfolds, you're going to start to find it very, very difficult to get more attention. And we're already starting to see this with your cell phone in the app industry, right? Where you start to look in your phone and all these apps now people are they're removing, they're minimizing. So the app industry is now starting to go back to the websites where it started. So it's just interesting how this is all unfolding. But that's what's cool about the personal brand, right? Is you can start to build your following, your platform, your listeners, your readers, whatever they are, whatever you want to call them, your fans, your followers. You can start to build them for pennies on the dollar right now. But it comes down to understanding your strengths. So can it be for everybody? Absolutely. But not everybody should have a podcast. Not everybody should have a blog. Not everybody should be a YouTube star. Not everybody should be a motivational speaker. One of those may apply to you. And I think we got to figure out what that is, because that's the difficult part, is like figure out which one of these do we want to look at. If you are hands down the best public speaker that your friends and family and anybody has ever known, yeah, let's get you on a podcast. Let's get you out there speaking to people, because that's the way to do it. But maybe not. Maybe you're like super introverted. You're awkward. You have a neck beard. You play World of Warcraft in your free time, and you like to sit in the basement. But you're a brilliant writer or a great photographer, or you're really good at editing videos. Those are the types of thif you want to start to change your strategy. That's eventually going to dictate what that strategy looks like and what kind of platform you want to build out, so you can start to get that out there. But those are still things you can do. So if you're a quiet guy and you're a really good writer, maybe blogging's in the future. Maybe writing a book is in your future. If you're really good at capturing content, maybe video blogs, all sorts of stuff like that. You don't have to be the focal point of your video blog. You can have video blogs on squirrels. You can have video blogs on cats playing with things. I mean, this is not very difficult, but you can start to build out that personal brand of being known as the person that does this thing, right? That's what you want to look at. So everybody can do it. It just takes some time to get serious about what you want to do and what your strengths are, and then going all in with it. Totally rocking the boat. That's what I'm talking about. So how do we use that? Let's say you've got this now. Okay, we're going to build a personal brand. I've got an idea what my strengths are. Now, how do we make it so people stick with it? Because it takes some time. So what's going to create that consistency, that follow through with people? They're going to keep listening the first time, the second time, the third time. They're going to keep reading. What does that look like? Well, this is really where it comes down to the art of your storytelling ability. And it can be through pictures. It can be visually. It can be through spoken word. It can be whatever, but it's got to come down to storytelling, because people have an unbelievably short attention span. It's unfreaking real how short people's attention span are. I mean, in fact, you ever like go talk to somebody, go shake their hand, and you immediately forget their name? Immediately. And the whole time you're like, I've just totally broken the window now of forgetting this person's name. This is really going to be humiliating if I ask, so I'm just not even going to ask. And then they keep talking for so long that you totally forgot what they were even talking about. And then they ask you a follow-up question, and you're just like, and you answer something neutral. Yeah, just gotta split it right there in the middle, right? And they just shake their head. That's what I said. And then you're done. And that's the conversation. That's because you have a short attention span. Okay? You might have a short attention span. So here's what we do with people, because everyone is like this. They have short attention spans. We create stories. We create stories. All right. So how do you create a story? All about conflict. I'm going to say conflict is first. People talk about different aspects to storytelling. I think the biggest one is to make sure that you have at least enough conflict going on within your story. There's got to be some type of problem. I mean, how many motivational speakers do you guys enjoy that just said, yeah, and then, I was born and everything was successful, and I just started rocking and went right to the top. No challenges, just kind of floated right up. That's terrible. But you guys want to hear the rags to riches, the person that had it all and lost it and got it back, or you want to hear about the person that got addicted to drugs and then broke through it, or the person that had gone through some type of terrible tragedy in their life and they overcame it. We want to know how people overcome conflict, because conflict is very relatable, because we all go through it. Life is a huge struggle, and that's what it is. Life is really difficult when you really break it down. And if it's not difficult, then challenge your freaking self. life is challenging and you go through conflicts. So you want to be able to find those conflicts that are relatable to you. And then you want to see how people overcome those conflicts. So if you want to create a good story, create a conflict. I'll give you an experiment that I did a couple weeks ago. For those of you guys know, I have an uncle. He's wild. He calls himself the Mississippi River Drifter. And in fact, actually most locals in the western Wisconsin and eastern Minnesota area, all the way along the Mississippi, know him as the Mississippi River Drifter because he looks like someone that would drift up and down the Mississippi and play guitar. That's what he does. So this guy decided he wanted to build a raft for charity and drift 120 miles down the Mississippi. And I'm like, absolutely, I will support that because it's a really awesome ministry they were supporting in Uruguay, South Carolina. No, it was not South Carolina, it was South America. And it was an awesome ministry with these great people. And I said, I can totally support that. I can help you with your branding and everything else. I'll donate my time and we'll just rock that thing. We go down the river and I'm like, I'm just going to document everything live because anybody that's going to build a raft and try to go down the Mississippi is going to run into some problems. They're absolutely going to have issues. Because if you saw a picture of this raft, people, this raft was 2 canoes virtually duct taped together with some plywood put over the top. He had his 3 dogs on the raft with him, sat on a cooler, and tried to paddle down the entire Mississippi. Okay? This is the raft. Something's going to go wrong. Got to have my phone ready because I'm going to document every last bit of this. Yes. And I did. So we got most of the way, about 80 some miles or so, south of Red Wing, Minnesota. And we hit a little chop. Oh yeah, did we hit the chop. And I was documenting most of the story, and his raft did not just start to sink, ladies and gentlemen. His raft started to dive. Oh, it started to dive fast. Me, fortunately, I was not on the raft. I was in another boat, not very good, with a 1966 Mercury motor, but I was able to record the entire thing. And I didn't even know how I was going to help him. I didn't know how I was going to solve the problem. In fact, I didn't know how he was going to solve the problem. So I'm documenting us pulling him over. We pulled him over to somehow got into this quicksand stuff, and he's starting to get stuck. And then my dad gets out and tries to help because my dad came with me, and he gets stuck. And then my dad almost starts to drown. Then instead of helping, I was just recording because this stuff was too good. What that did was it created a ton of conflict. So I had some of the highest engagement on my Instagram stories I've ever had because of that story. And I had so many people sending messages in. I had more viewers, I had more engagement, and I had tons of people that were just on the edge of their seats because they kept sending me messages of, oh my gosh, what's going on? What are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know. But it was the anticipation of that conflict that created a connection and an appeal. So showing that conflict, he's sinking his raft and he's got 3 dogs chained up. What is he going to do? Okay, next scene. Oh, he took the chains off and the dogs all have life jackets on them. Dogs are good. Okay, no ethical violations with animals on this Instagram account. Excellent. Next, what are we going to see? Oh my gosh, this raft's coming apart. What are we going to do? And eventually you conclude and people love it, right? So that's another thing. You want to have the conflict and you want to have the conclusion or the resolution. People don't want a conflict and be left hanging. They want to know, what is the resolution? How did you solve this? How can this apply to my life? How can this show some conclusion, some closure to my life? That's the other piece of that. The final thing about storytelling, guys, so we have conflict, you have a conclusion. You want to start to develop your characters. What do your characters look like? Because everyone wants somebody that they can put a face to, that they know about. The Mississippi River Drifter, I just talk about some backwoods guy, he floats down the Mississippi and he plays guitar. You're probably picturing Johnny Depp's character from Chocolat. If you haven't seen that movie, you go check it out. It's about right. It's like, who's this gypsy guy that walks around barefoot, that looks like he's homeless? Well, he's not homeless. He calls the river his home, so he's not really homeless. But this is the kind of thing you want to do. You want to build these characters in your story. When you can build characters and you create a conflict and then some type of resolution to that conflict, you're eventually going to keep people engaged. That's what you want to start to do on these social platforms, whether that's your blog writing, whether that is your YouTube channel or your Instagram account, whatever it looks like, your motivational speaking, your podcast. How can you keep people consistently engaged throughout the entire piece of content or whatever you're looking at? Okay, so just to recap quickly, personal branding, the importance of it. The second piece, stick with it. Doesn't happen overnight, and pick something that you're good at. Don't just pick something that you want to do. Pick something that you're good at that you want to do and that people actually find valuable, which segues into the next piece, keeping attention. How do we keep the attention? Characters, conclusions, conflicts. All those things is what we want. Next piece of this is marketing 101. And not necessarily marketing, but it's just identifying who is it that you're solving the problem for. And it could be whatever you're saying that this blog is. You might say, oh, it's a comedy blog. I'm not really solving any problems. Yeah, you are. You're solving a problem if you're a comedian. Is that people want some type of escape from their soul. They want some type of distraction. They don't want to have to think about something. Who seeks out comedy? People seek out comedy when they're bored or they just want to be stimulated and they feel dull. That is the type of person that wants to seek comedy. They want to experience a heightened emotion. So you can start to paint a picture of who are the people that normally like comedy. Well, maybe people have generally dull lives and they just enjoy getting away and escaping while they have time. So they might work in a freaking cubicle with 9 to 5 where they hate their job. And then all of a sudden they just spend their time enjoying comedy so they can get a little bit of an escape. Right. We're solving a problem. We just identified that ideal client base, right? This is the kind of stuff that I spend so much time getting focused on with my clients and when I do my seminars. This is the stuff that really matters. It's getting hyper clear on your target market. Who is your ideal client? Whose problem exactly are you solving? What's their gender? What's their age? What do they look like? What do they value? What are they doing? So my client, I was just going through this exercise with him a couple of days ago. You guys know Whiskey Hunter Collective. It's a furniture company. My client buddy, he's just a great guy. He just started out and he's got $10,000 of bookings. He got his first month and he's like, I just need to go all in with the marketing. What do we got? And I said, that's whose problem are you solving? Whose problem? Who really wants furniture? Who wants custom furniture? Upper middle class people that really want to look at their different neighbors. They want to be able to show them. They want to have furniture with a story behind it. You're already starting to paint a picture of who this person is. What do they value? Well, they definitely value, image. They value image. They want to look good compared to their neighbors and their friends. So they want to have a piece of high-end furniture so that they can talk about it and one-up each other. That's very different. So you're able to really start to put together who this person is and what this person looks like because you understand whose problem are you solving. So let's look at whose problem are you solving in creating your personal brand. What kind of person are you? What kind of, were you the funny guy in high school? Were you the dad that came with everybody to make sure everyone got home safe from the party? Or were you the guy that made sure everybody didn't get home safe from the party because you were so wild? These are all things that are good to know about your personality so we can figure out whose problem are we solving. What social clique did you fit in high school or would you fit in today? What does that look like? Were you the nerds? Were you the band guy? Were you the jock? What was that? What did that look like? And how can you start to apply that into your personal brand? Because we're trying to create some type of platform to where you can serve and help people. And it doesn't need to be serving and help people like handing out water bottles at an orphanage in Haiti. It can be helping people like giving them a laugh because you decided to say something funny or make a great YouTube video, or giving someone a laugh because you captured content of a little kitten playing with a piece of yarn. Those things are all completely fine. So I want you guys to look at that and figure out what it is within yourself, how you can start to develop that into your personal brand. Okay, so I hope this is helping so far, because if you guys understand exactly who you're solving the problem for, it becomes very easy on what you need to talk about and what you need to develop. And I get down to a name, name these people. I would go out and, in fact, if you could find out the last 5 customers you helped, or you can find out the last 10 followers that signed up with you, figure out exactly who they are and what they look like, what their income is, what their age, their gender, education level, marital status, what are all these types of things? Who do they also engage with? What other followers do they participate with? These are all things you can start to do to put together a plan, and then you can start to really rock it. Okay, so now that you got all this stuff figured out, we just went over a lot. We got a lot of stuff figured out here. The last piece of this is creating the actual content, but creating it consistently and creating it often and creating a relationship. creating a relationship is what we really want to look at. Because what you're doing is you're trying to speak to your target audience. You're trying to speak to the target market. You're trying to speak to your ideal client. So you want to make sure that you're crafting your brand to be able to speak to them. So if you're like a part of a Christian organization and you're trying to connect people with their local church community, you might not want to have a ton of profanity on your website or in your personal brand. However, if you're trying to create comedy for I would say middle-aged men who enjoy sports comedy and they like vulgar humor, then you might swear a lot because that's going to keep them engaged and you're speaking their language. So you got to kind of see what is that purpose that you're trying to carve out. How is that aligning with what your message looks like? Because it could be very different on what that looks like. And I'm not just talking about language in general. I'm talking about consistent content and interrupting the viewer where they're at. That's what you really want to look at. 2 types of marketing: inbound marketing and interruptive marketing. Inbound marketing is a marketing that comes in, so SEO, search engine optimization, someone Googling you, someone looking up your website, being findable by just having a social media profile in different places. All those are examples of inbound marketing where people can just find you if they need to see you. Interruptive marketing is probably the advertisements that you're normally used to seeing. It interrupts you on your news feed. It interrupts you on the television. It interrupts you on the interstate with a billboard. It interrupts you in a magazine that you're reading or enjoying, or on the radio that you're listening to. That's interruptive marketing. Both of those are effective for different things. If you want to look at, depending on the business, I believe one of the first ways to start to really create a good market is with the principle of reciprocity, which is where you just give out so much content in such a valuable way that people just start to naturally and organically try to find you. And then you get inbound marketing, then you got a pipeline of clients forever. I would say 95% of my marketing is done that way. Occasionally I'll promote ads just to raise awareness and keep people connected. Almost everybody just finds me, and then I vet out what clients I want to work at, and it kind of comes in at the pace that I need it to come in at. And if I need to start to up my ante a little bit, I'll just start busting out more content that I think is good and valuable. And that's usually what works. So that's one way to go about it. But what you want to really start to do is figure out what type of content does that look like. Okay. So like, for example, if you want to be a comedian or a stand-up comedian or whatever, you want to start to make YouTube videos that are at least funny, because people that will value that want funny content. So you should put out a lot. I would say if you're going to be doing, to start, like I would have Instagram posts at least 3 to 5 times a week. I would have a YouTube, if you're trying to get on a YouTube platform, I'd have one at least once a week, and the more the better, because you're just increasing that level of awareness. You're just increasing as much as possible. Very rarely will people unfollow you if they see it interrupting their newsfeed. It does happen, and that's fine, but you don't really care because that's not your ideal audience then. Your ideal audience is someone that resonates with the same message. It's basically a friend that you have that's listening to the message. Some people aren't friends with you because they don't care about what you have to say, and they don't share a similar value, and they don't want to talk to you. It's the same thing with social media. Some people just don't care to hear what you have to say, and they don't want to listen to you. So you just got to understand how are you speaking their language, and how are you giving your audience what you want. Think about it as just being able to communicate with your friend. If you had a friend, you just want to communicate with them. You just want to make sure you're giving them what they need. You don't need to give everybody in your high school what they need. You just need to give your one friend what they need, because that is your ideal client. That is your target audience. So don't be worried about people following you for busting out too much content. You just want to make sure that the content you're putting out is good to your standards, that you think it's funny, that you think it's quality, that you think it's valuable, that you think it's engaging, that you think it's positive and creative. That's what you want to look at. And I think that when you get on a consistent rhythm, there's a lot of good apps. If you want some technical ones, you can go Later. That's a good one for Instagram. I have a social media coordinator. She does all my social media scheduling, making sure that I send out my newsletter on time and my podcasts, and gives me a little nudge when I didn't get one out to you guys, because I got a lot of stuff going on. You all know that, but that's okay. And I got a video guy making sure he's cranking out videos every couple times a month. So it's just whatever I can work with within my budget. Now that I've got kind of the systems in place, I've created that system to where I can make sure I'm getting enough content out there. Sometimes I don't get enough out there. Sometimes I do too much, but I think that it's about starting out. It's just about getting as much out there as possible so you can make sure that you're at least shotgun blasting your audience to where you can see which things are really sticking. And then you can move into all the different analytics and feedback that you get from these different social media from the background of all these social media giants. You can figure out what's really sticking and what people really like to hear and talk about. Sometimes it's more obvious than others, but sometimes it's just about, it's like, wow, yeah, usually when you feel really good about a podcast, getting off it, that seems to be the one that does well, and sometimes there's just no rhyme or reason to what happens. And I think it's just about listening to your audience about what they like, but just making sure you're still staying within the walls of your own brand. So I think that's a really good way to start. It's just getting content out there. Content's king. Content is king. It's kind of like cash. Cash is king too. So is content. I think that's really where it's all at. So once you kind of get that consistent method of delivering your content out there, whether that's weekly, having a newsletter, whether that's a blog that you're posting regularly or a YouTube video, then it's just all about tightening it down into making sure you know exactly what type of content these people want, how you can start improving the quality of that content. People don't like looking at bad pictures, but they sometimes do like looking at bad pictures once in a while to make sure that it's really you. So that's a huge piece of this is authenticity. Like just being yourself, being consistent with yourself. I think the biggest downfall that I see people make is they create a personal brand and they just fall in line with what they think people want to see versus what's really them. And you're just going to get into trouble all the time with that, is because it's just like when you're talking to someone, you can just know if they're full of shit. It's no different when you're on social media. If someone's full of shit, it's really easy to understand that and see through these people that aren't authentic. So I would really encourage you guys to look at, how do you really want to be? Like, if you are a huge party animal and you try to perceive yourself as someone that doesn't drink, that would just be stupid and weird, because that's just not you. And why would you try to put on this facade? You might as well just be acting then, which is like, if you think that's a good strategy, more power to you, but I wouldn't recommend that. I'm recommending a strategy where you really look at your internal value system, you look at your internal strengths, and you start to build your content based on that, because you think that this content is valuable to some type of audience, whether it be verbally or whether it be written or viewable or whatever that looks like, because that's really the style. And I think it's really important to get going with that and getting it out there consistently. So one of the things you'll want to see is what social platforms are the most valuable for this. Are you going to go all in on YouTube, or are you going to go all in on iTunes? Are you going to go all in on Instagram, or are you going to go all in on Twitter? For me, starting out, I was always told I was really motivational, a really good speaker. Some of these podcasts vary in their level of motivation, but when you come to my talks, when you come to my speeches, when you come to my events, people walk away literally ready to run through walls, because that was my gift. So I want to get as much content out there as possible to try to inspire people to do something positive with their life. So I went all in with the podcast. That was my thing. I went all in with the podcast, and then I kind of organically started piling in people. And because I promote my Instagram handle at the beginning of my podcast, I got over 10,000 followers on Instagram. Like, that's not really even good anymore, but whatever. It's still nice to know that you can organically grow that within about 2-year range, right? And you want to see, and same with Facebook, right? We got 12,000 followers on Facebook. It's by going all in with this podcast and really trying to deliver value to the people that I want to talk to. I want to talk to people that want to learn and grow. Those are the people listening to podcasts. I want to talk to the people that want to learn something new and want to become better versions of themselves. That's what you're going to get with a podcast. But if I wanted to find some just random stranger and wake them up, I might have to do something different, which is why this new section that I'm working on is going through making videos in creative content that's going to deliver subtle messages to people in their life. And that's really what that looks like. So there's all these different ways you can try to talk to your ideal client. You can talk with them, and you got to understand their language. If it's got to be a funny language, if it's got to be a serious language. So some of my guy friends, they will not listen to anything unless it's super funny. Marissa, she will not listen to anything unless it's very educational. Otherwise, it's a waste of her brain space. So, am I talking to Marissa on this podcast, or am I talking to my guy friends? I don't know. So I want to learn what my target audience is and how I can talk to them. The last piece of this is you're going to want to create some type of system for branding all this. So you want to create a website? I would recommend today going to GoDaddy.com or another domain host and buying your domain name. What is your name? If your name is Aaron J. Armstrong, go buy Aaron J. Armstrong. I decided to buy Aaron J. Armstrong because, number one, it was cheaper than AJ Armstrong or Aaron Armstrong. Number two, I can simultaneously brand AJ and Aaron Armstrong with AaronJArmstrong.com, and it was much cheaper to go AaronJArmstrong.com. So that's why I decided to go AaronJArmstrong.com. All my Instagram is Aaron Armstrong33. My Twitter is AJ Armstrong33. 33 is the number that I had in college when I played football. So it's just like you want to have some type of social branding system that's really easy to tie people back to. But you got to have a website. I would seriously go to GoDaddy, buy your name right now, start building out your website. You don't have to necessarily make it public or advertise it to everybody, but just get something going. Start to figure out what your strategy is going to be. Is this going to be a blog? Is this going to be videos? Is this going to be a podcast? It might not need to be any of those things. It might need to just be you doing what your hobby is. If you're really interested in things, it might be cars. It might be boats, it might be sports, it could be whatever. But the fact is, you're going to want to be the one mediating. You're like the agent, the broker. You're trying to bring people into the life of the thing that you deliver. You're just the segue. So you want to be that kind of middleman between the people and the value that you're trying to deliver. Sometimes the value might come organically from you, or you might just be a broker for value. Like, I know a lot of friends that run travel blogs, and their travel blogs are them traveling all around the country, just reviewing the blogs. So they're really just promoting these different resorts and hotels and, vacation destinations, but they're just kind of the mediator. They're just like, yeah, I'm connecting my audience with these different resorts and hotels, and that's our system. So you can do stuff like that, but they've built personal brands doing it, traveling all around the world, that kind of thing. So you can kind of figure out what that looks like for you. But when you start to build that up, you're going to start to be known for what you're really good at, because you're going to start to showcase consistently, because you've been posting and showing content consistently every single day. You're going to be showing that to the entire world all the time. You're going to become an expert in your thing, your strength. You're going to be showcased as an expert. And when you're showcased as an expert, it's going to open the door up to so many different opportunities. It's not even funny. Like, I get invited all the time now to go speak, or I get invited to coach people, or to be part of random organizations. There was a guy that reached out to me who works he started a nonprofit with addiction. He wants to start this life coaching line, and he asked me to help work with him. And I'm just like, that sounds awesome. Like, helping the youth that are, addicted to drugs and having all these issues. And I'm the person that he's having help stand up this whole department of it. And it's just like, those all came because I just put myself out there and wanted to showcase what I thought I was good at, which was just motivating and inspiring people to be better than they thought that they think they are. And by using things like creative storytelling, by telling characters, by showing my life story, by showing my vulnerabilities, all my fuck ups, all the things I've done wrong, by showing all that stuff to people, it's created this relationship to where now I can get opportunities. And this is the same thing that's going to show up with you. And it could be, you could do this the corporate way. You just got to show the skills that you want to show. Show those strengths that you have, because you want to have some way of displaying and showcasing your talents. And this is your final opportunity to. And you want to, it's basically just a portfolio of your life. If you're an engineer, show things that you've designed or created. It's like a portfolio, just like an artist would show things that they've designed or created, or a photographer would show things they've designed or created. If you're an author, start blogging. See if you can get people to read your blogs organically, because if tons of people read your blogs organically, tons of people are probably going to read your books organically. So it's like, you want to start to figure out what is it that your strengths are, and start testing the waters a little bit and figure out which piece of this you really want to go in. If you're a talker, start a podcast, try to do some motivational speeches. You're probably not going to just like get paid big money right off the bat, but it's totally cool to start building up your audience and building that connection with people. Because I'm telling you, let's say you get 10 listeners, but one of them says, you completely changed my life. You had the opportunity to change that person's life. That should make everything worth it. And you should consistently keep pushing out content for that reason. I was having such a hard time when I started. I couldn't get the amount of downloads and the amount of people I wanted and all this stuff. I was missing all my targets. And then one person said to me, like, you completely changed my life. And they went and told me their whole story about where they were when they started listening and how they started to turn everything around and building the relationships back in their family and start to take ownership and responsibility for their life. And they started to really start to fall in line with what they thought God was giving them as far as their direction. And I was just like, that made it completely worth it. That made it 100% worth it to keep doing it. So don't think about trying to change the masses when you could change the individual as well. It's all about service. And service should be the most amount of value you can give to the most amount of people. And I think that if you can give a ton of value to one person or a little value to a lot of people, it doesn't matter. The equation all works out the same. But that's really what it's all about. So if you can change one life, that should make this all worth it. What do you have in your toolbox that you can show the world? And how can you change individuals, and you can change the minds of people, and you can start to showcase your true gifts and talents to the world? That's really what this is all about. So I am giving this to you as just encouragement to start. Like, just do it. Stop freaking messing around. Stop talking about it. Stop talking about getting in shape. Stop talking about starting a business. You don't even need to start a business yet. Just start your personal brand. Start building that up, and eventually it will be monetizable. And I could do a whole nother 45 minutes on monetizing a personal brand. But for now, just get valuable. Just give people value. Whatever that looks like, just give people value. You can just repost memes for all I care. That's giving people value. That's doing something. Start to build your personal brand. And it's hard to give blanket advice like this when I don't know you. I don't know your individual attributes or skills. I don't know what you know. I don't know your background. But I guarantee that if you come to one of our events or come to anything or even work with me or call me or just keep listening to this podcast or reading, I don't care. If you continue to work with, yourself and develop yourself and work in the personal growth and development community, you are going to absolutely hone in on what those strengths are. And you're going to start to showcase that to the world. I think one of the best ways to do that is the personal brand. Get with the times. This is the millennial generation. Everybody's going to have one someday. And it's also the cheapest time to buy this type of real estate. Get in the game, folks. Get in the game so you can start to make a splash in the world. Because if you're not changing your immediate community or your surrounding or even just a small group of people, you're not going to change the world. So let's start changing the world by at least being findable, being connectable, and having an avenue to show your channel of market, right? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create an avenue to showcase your skills. That's what this is all about. That's truly personal branding. There's a whole bunch more I have to talk about on this subject, but we're completely out of time. Guys, like I said, this is one of these segments that we go over at Personal Growth Ventures, this exact talk, but it's going to be a lot more refined. There's a whole bunch of workbooks that I give you to work through. And because it's a small seminar, we go through each person individually and we figure out exactly what that personal brand looks like or what their business brand looks like. Some people have very established businesses they want to brand out. Some people just want to work on their personal brand. Some people just want to work on themselves. And that's what's awesome about these small group seminars is we can completely go deep with people without the distraction of everything on a beautiful vacation island. That's what's going to be in St. Lucia. So if you want more of this stuff, go check it out. Go to personalgrowthventures.com, fill out the information. I'll send you the information. And if you want to learn more about personal branding or development in general, you can always book a free call with me. I will talk to you, and within 15 minutes, I guarantee we can have a strategy going forward about how we can develop a personal brand for you. I will guarantee you will have a course of action going. It's unbelievable how much work we can get done when we just get all the BS aside and we start rocking and rolling. So guys, thank you so much for listening to the show. Once again, go to personalgrowthventures.com if you want to learn more about exactly what this is going to entail on our personal growth vacation that's going to be in the island of St. Lucia. So personalgrowthventures.com. You can find out more about me at aaronjarmstrong.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at aaronarmstrong33. You can always send an email to info@aaronjarmstrong.com. I've only got a team of 5 people, so it always finds its way over to me. If you want more different things to talk about on this podcast, you want to learn more, please check out our Facebook page, Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews Facebook group. And you can always send me an email directly, info@aaronjarmstrong.com. Thank you so much for listening today, folks. We always enjoy our listeners listening to the end. And if you ever want to reach out or you have anything that comes up in your life, please don't hesitate to reach out. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to serve your community. So with that said, thank you so much. Be somebody. What's up, everybody? This is your host, AJ Armstrong. You can follow me on Instagram at aaronarmstrong33. That's Aaron Armstrong 833, or you can go to my website, aaronjarmstrong.com. Thanks so much for listening through to the end. I wanted to also introduce you guys to our Facebook community. So you can go to Winners Vaults Worldviews on Facebook, and it's a group where we can offer, different opportunities for you guys to ask questions. If you have a Q&A or something in your business or a challenge in your life that you want to bring up, that's the community to ask it. And then I can also share that with all of our listeners on our social media platforms. The final thing I wanted to share with you guys, something Marissa and I have been so excited for. It's been really chomping at me to freaking tell you guys. And it's our Personal Growth Ventures Retreat. So our Personal Growth Ventures Retreat is going to be located on the island of St. Lucia. It's going to be a business seminar combined with personal growth and development. And we're also adding in something nobody else has ever done in a seminar that I have heard of. And that's fitness and adventure. So these are the things that are going to help push us to our limits. It's going to help us break through our fears. And these adventures are going to be one of a kind. If you want to find out more about what our adventures entail, what's going to be involved in the education session, and where this is all going to be happening and when, you can go to our website, personalgrowthventures.com. That's personalgrowthventures.com. It's also going to be located in the show notes. So with that said, guys, thanks so much for listening through to the end. Once again, go be somebody.